Hey, what's going on, y'all? Casually going over this video. She cute. It's unrelated, but I just have to get that out of my system. She's very cute. Anyways, I'm gonna give this video an honest run through. And the video is by Amanda Mary Ann. Dating apps rotted my brain. Anyways, we'll call her triple first name. Hitting that like button is appreciated for sure. Anyways, let's jump into it. Also, before I start too, how dating apps rotted my brain. Is my grammar just off? Like rotted my brain. It just hits the ear wrong. Works as a YouTube title for sure. It makes me second guess, am I grammatically stupid or not?
Hey guys, it's Amanda. Welcome back to my channel. And today I want to talk about how TikTok dating advice rotted my brain. I am one of the few unfortunate souls who watched a few TikTok dating advice gurus here and there, and suddenly my feed became flooded with dating advice and nothing else. People telling me what to text, what to wear, what to say, how to act, all in pursuit of getting a man. There's so much dating advice and dating content and dating gurus on TikTok, and I feel like it has just actually jumbled my brain up, and I haven't really sat down to consider that until now. A lot of the advice is just given with such authority when in reality nobody is an expert on dating. As far as I know, I don't think you can get a master's or a PhD in dating wisdom. At the end of the day, a lot of the advice is subjective, anecdotal, and sometimes even toxic.
I feel like she's right about a lot here, but I don't know. I feel like you kind of can. The same way you can get a master's in behavioral psychology or psychology in general. If you know the basics well enough, then you can give people the highest probability chance to be happy and seek happiness. Or at least that's just how I feel about it. But you should take it with a grain of salt. It's TikTok. Most TikTok is slop. Most of Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube shorts are also slop. It's a low effort slop. Even I've been guilty of that because that's what people slurp up. It's hard to resist, both making it and consuming it. Fast food content is just as bad for the brain.
I'd like to think that I take the content I consume with a grain of salt. And I think even though I was seeing so much of this dating content and I knew logically that okay, just because some random girl on the internet says this works doesn't mean it's the law. I think I logically knew that, but I still let it seep into my brain. I think especially because TikTok, it's not a place where you necessarily click on videos. You are just served content. And so I think if you hear stuff enough, even if you don't necessarily fully agree with it or believe in it, it will sort of infiltrate your brain. And I think that's what happened to me with TikTok and dating advice. I would see these videos of women saying never go on a date with a man who suggests a coffee date because he's broke and low value. And I'd be like, okay, yeah, I've been on coffee dates. They aren't the worst thing in the world. And I know that logically, but that information would still seep into my head. If someone asked me to go on a coffee date, I'd be I'd already have a negative feeling about it just because of that content I consumed. So that's what I want to talk about in this video, how TikTok dating advice has, I think, really messed up my view on dating, and also just in general, exclusively dating on dating apps has messed up my view of dating. I think dating apps are having a moment right now where people are really hating it. People are really wanting to turn to in-person alternatives to meeting people, whether it's speed dating events or just hitting on people in public, or of course going to a run club. I also feel like someone who has literally just started dating when dating apps were already widely popular and available, and basically only has dated through dating apps. I think that has fundamentally changed the way I approach dating, and I don't think it's for the best. Usually I do a lot more scripting and research for my videos, but this one's just going to be personal, anecdotal vibes. So let's get into it. I want to take a brief pause to thank Parade for sponsoring today's video. I don't know if y'all are aware of this, but we are in a drought. We are experiencing a dearth of cool, funky, fresh underwear, and Parade sort of stepped up to the plate and said, I'm gonna do something about it. Guys, I want you to take a look at this. This is the Sweetheart Satin Lounge Bralette, and it simply brings me so much joy and delight every time I wear it. The print is called Pasta Party because duh. And honestly, this is so good that it's like, I don't want to hide it. So what I do is I'll wear it with like a cute little...
We'll take 20.
You need to leave!
Debrief on my dating history, because I think this also is important to my perspective. Before turning 18, I had absolutely no dating history to speak of. No bitches, no hoes. Phone was dry. Of course, I had crushes. Did they like me back? Did they know I exist? Absolutely not. I also have that trauma of like being a black girl at predominantly white schools all my life. To sum up that experience, you can just watch this short film I made. Because of like getting absolutely no play, no attention in high school, I was very excited to like go to college and start dating. And I think most people are, and I don't know if this is like normal or not, but specifically when I went to college, I was like, I'm gonna download dating app like right away, because to me it felt like a shortcut. Like, even though college is supposed to be the place where you're with a bunch of people who are your age who you could potentially date, because dating apps were so popular at that time, this was like 2018, I was like, oh, I can just download a dating app. I can like bypass this whole thing of even meeting someone, having a crush on them, or being friends with them. Like, I can just go to the source, make my profile, find someone who's attracted to me, and go on a date. Like, so much more simple than just like navigating life and finding someone naturally. And it really was that simple and easy. Like, I just made a profile, started swiping, and like within a day you can like be on a date. And
Well, as much as I've seen and talked about and experienced, if you're a girl, yeah, it's just that easy. Now, if you're a guy, whew, rough sailing, unless you fit into some stereotypes or some archetypes, or you just look like a model. Like, I'm not even kidding. If you're black, for example, you want to find girls, if you're into them, that are into black culture. And it sucks because you want to be you. You don't want to fit some quota or some stereotype. But if you want to raise your probability of success, that's kind of what you got to do. You don't have to, you're not obligated to, but it's par for the course. Like, if you're an Asian guy and you want to find girls, find them that are into anime or K-dramas or K-pop, or, which is just 90s black music that you don't understand. But anyways, so they can live out their fantasy. Asian girls fit into this too, sadly. Tourist ass guys wanting a submissive waifu. It's just par for the course. You don't have to, you're not obligated to, but if you want to raise your probability of success as far as like whatever your aims are, whether it just be hooking up, whether it just be attention, whatever the case may be, you don't have to do it, but it'll raise it for you.
I think because that was my first experience of dating, I was like, why would I not do this? Like, this is so easy. This is so streamlined. This is so simplified. It kind of just like optimizes the process of getting to go on a date. And that's what I desperately wanted. Unfortunately, in the process, I developed a crippling dependency to external validation from these dating apps, because I don't know, when you like match with someone, you get that little sound and it sends a rush of dopamine to your head, and someone thinks you're cute, someone thinks you're attractive. I didn't realize in the moment, but I developed like such an addiction to the external validation that just came from being liked on dating apps. I used Tinder as a dating app because that's what I thought it was. Little did I know it really was a hookup.
Yeah, she's right on the dopamine rush. You get a message just like any phone notification and you feel the urge to check it, though you get all those rushes from any kind of validation. I'm fully aware of all this, and at the same time, shoot, I'm still a slave to the validation too. Like, sometimes I truly don't give a fuck, like, whatever. But the childhood trauma of people never giving a shit about me or passing me over for some worthless dipshit, can't even bang them right, which, let's be real, when they are in worthless territory, that's the only thing they really want to do with them anyways. With that kind of trauma, it's just nice to be like, yo, somebody appreciates that I exist. Like, it just feels good. It's a dopamine rush, yeah. But that's my particular trauma. It may not be the same for you. Your mileage may vary.
App. So I was very confused in those early days when I went on 3 dates with someone and they did not want to marry me. At this time of using dating apps early on, I definitely wanted to be in a relationship. I wanted to get a boyfriend because to me, that would solve all my problems. I don't know why I thought this. It meant finding a permanent solution to my lack of external validation. So I was relentless. I went on so many dates. And of course, nobody wanted to be in a relationship with me because a lot of these people were not looking for a relationship. I definitely thought there was something deeply wrong with me because I was like, how am I going on all these dates and like literally no one wants to be my boyfriend? Like, that's crazy. It even got to the point where I kind of like gave up on actually finding someone I liked. And I literally was like, I just want a starter boyfriend. Like, I just need that first step. Now that in retrospect, I'm like, what did I even think I would be getting out of that? But truly, like, I just thought like having a boyfriend just makes your life automatically better if you have a boyfriend. Like, I couldn't even tell you, like, why would I want a starter boyfriend? Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, you feel that way. Just that foot in the door. And she brings up a point without the point, which is, yeah, girls can get a ton of attention, but someone's wanting to date them tends to be a different story. But, it's based off of whom they pick. Because there's a lot of guys that would also want to date someone, but they not getting chose at all for whatever reason. Some of it's their fault, some of it's not. And all parts in between. Nuance is so fucking annoying. In a world of billions of people, it's not going to be the same reason every time. Even though I feel like she's gotten cheated a lot as far as like people just wanting her, probably just for one thing. On the flip side of that, as bad as it is on the other side of the fence, a lot of guys will be happy really with just even that. Not even because they just want just to like bang one out, proverbially speaking. It's more so like, damn, who want me? Anybody? Nobody? Somebody? Nobody, of course. And they'd be like, that's always the case. And nobody wants to talk about guys not getting the time of day because it's not topical. It's not cool. It's not trendy. It's more so like, girl. Make sure the girl's okay all the time. Make sure, 100%. Girl. And that's not to take away from girls' issues. Girls have like a lot of holy shit, like a lot of issues to deal with, a lot of shit that needs to be remedied and rectified and handled. Disclaimers aside, nobody gives a fucks about the dudes really. It's like, it's an extreme passive thought. But yeah, anyways.
On so many dates in college, it was low-key my hobby. Like, if I didn't have a plan and I wanted to do something, I would just swipe, find someone to go on a date with. I don't necessarily regret this. It's not like I completely abandoned like personal projects or school or friends or whatever to like go on dates. But I feel like any sort of free, unspoken for evening I had, I was just like, well, I should go on a date. And this kind of gets into how I feel like dating apps rotted my brain, because the bad thing about this approach is that I would go on a date with like anyone who would ask me. That was the standard. Like, if you ask me to go on a date, like, I will go. Like, I didn't even consider if I actually liked these people. And that became very apparent because there were so many dates I would go on and I'd show up there and I'd see the person and I'd just be like, no. But for some reason, just like the prospect of like going on a date was so important to me that I didn't even think about who I was going on the date with. And in my head, like, I was being picky. Like, I wasn't just like swiping right on any old Joe. But I think the medium of dating apps made me picky about the wrong things that like didn't really matter in terms of compatibility. I wasn't thinking about people's personalities. I was thinking, oh, how tall are they? What kind of school did they go to? What kind of job do they have? You know, that can like tell you something. Maybe you have similar lifestyles, but it doesn't really tell you anything about if you're gonna enjoy having a conversation with this person. So that gets me into how dating apps rotted my brain. I feel like it gave me this mentality of like, there is unlimited people out there and it is a numbers game. So you just have to keep going. Everyone is disposable. There's always someone new.
Now, this is a good point too. People can end up shallow for whatever reason, but dating apps help push people in that direction. You can have so many choices at your fingertips now, making knee-jerk swipes. It's not even consistent. I've done the same thing, just trying to get through them like a third job with unfortunately very few benefits. Though maybe because I'm in a sparsely populated state. Now, if I was in Florida or Cali, that experience may be very different. There are people here. There is people here. Dating apps rotted my brain. Language aside, there may be people here, but I legit feel like because it does really feel like a numbers game, just in general. Because like I said before, everything in life comes down to probability. If there was more times for me to roll the dice, it'd probably be a different story. Like I said, a more densely populated location. Another way to look at it too is just like picking a movie off of Netflix or watching a YouTube video. Now you're just paying attention to bare bones shit, their looks, the appearance. And when I use these examples, I'm talking about the thumbnails. If you're familiar with YouTube, you know exactly what I mean by a thumbnail. You're looking at the surface level, like, will I be interested in this based off of what I see off the cover? Looks are no different. Will I be interested in this? Will this quote unquote fulfill my needs based off of how this surface level, how does the shell look? And yeah, it's really no different.
Around the corner. And I think this led me to spend way too much time on dating apps. I feel like there was points in time where I spent more time on like dating apps than like actual social media, because I kind of treated it like that. And it was just like a thing where I'd be constantly searching to get matches. And then also, because I would always be on it and like getting these matches and stuff, I would just have way too many people out of the realm of possibility that I could even speak to. I took this class in college that was like literally all about the science of love. And one thing that really stood out to me that I remembered from that class was if you have more than 9 matches at a time on a dating app, like your brain literally can't compute. You're not able to balance that many conversations and people in your head. And I think that was also a big problem with me on dating apps too. I would match with a bunch of people and almost like nothing would happen. Like there would be no conversation, or it would be like, hi, hey, how are you doing? Like that terrible conversation. So I would either...
Yeah, I mean, it really does put you in a fucked up mental situation. If you get so many options, then it makes you value each individual option less. The more that you have of something, the less you value it. The more you have of money, then you just kind of feel like, I can just like set it on fire. I don't give a shit. Like I have a lot of it. If you have a lot of people, a lot of friends, a lot of food, a lot of whatever, if you have more of something in general, for the most, it's not going to be for everybody. Like some people will have the mental fortitude to not be like that. But a lot of people in general, if they have more of something, they just value it less. It's just human psychology. Like if you're hot, not all the time, but more than likely, everybody just becomes napkins to you. Like they're fucking disposable.
You have these conversations that like literally led to nowhere.
Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Another thing that she didn't mention is that's what a lot of y'all be picking. Like sure, it's not like they instinctively know what kind of person that they're going to run into when they start trying to communicate with them. But if you try people that are less conventionally attractive to you, you might open a utopian Pandora's box of wonder. Just food for thought. But instead, a lot of you go for like the shallow attractive people. You know, that surface level thumbnail. And you get, hey, hi, hello, can I fuck? Let me fuck. You fine as fuck. Head? Like that kind of thing. What do you expect, honestly? When it's surface level and you talk to a profile that looks like very attractive to you or whatever, and they only have like 3 lines of text in there, this is what you're getting. This is what you should expect. It's just par for the course. Like just... What can I say? A lot of us humans are shallow ass bitches. What can I say? It's not like it's intentional. It's not like there's malicious intent behind it, but that's just par for the course. And it's just simple pattern recognition. Please use it. And I'm guilty of it too. My biggest defense mechanism is I'm not paying for shit just because someone is attractive. I'm Mr. Krabs, baby, unless you're a cool ass person and not a shit stain. If you have the personality of like a burnt railroad spike because you were born fortunate, motherfucker, you can howl at the moon.
Or I think another problem with the medium of dating apps is that I would have these conversations with people for way too long before I met them. So I felt like I knew them because I was like texting them so much. Obviously, I liked these people, but it was more of like having a parasocial relationship with like a chat box because you've truly like, you don't know who this person is. And I think that like really caused me a lot of distress and drama that like is only possible with this medium of dating app.
Now, this is a pretty cool and unique observation. Like I've done this too. I've had a lot of convos with people I've never met properly. So in a way, it's like a chatbot. Although I use voice messages a lot, so it hasn't been the same experience on the other end. But yeah, it kind of is like a chatbot.
I would get like addicted to people who I didn't even know. And then when I met them in person, it was jarring. It was like, oh, that's not what I thought this was. Like, it's just like a really mind-boggling experience to be talking with someone all day, and then you finally meet them and you're like, this is not the same thing at all. I feel like I had a lot of those experiences. So then I had experiences where I would just like try to skip that whole stage of like small talk and like, let's just match and like go on a date. And then the problem with that is that, well, I actually know nothing about you. And it becomes clear very quickly that we have nothing in common, and this is not a good fit. I think another thing with being on dating apps is that I was very like hyper fixated on my appearance, because being active on there, it's like, well, literally a date could happen any day, any moment. I always have to be looking my best. And like I said before, I feel like dating apps did make me very hyper fixated on arbitrary labels like height, profession, school. Not to say that those things don't matter. Of course they're important, but I put like way too much emphasis and value on those things. I use them as a determiner of if I would even like someone, when that is like just not the correct criteria to be using to determine that. Because I would say, for example, there are people who I've met in person who I'm like, if I saw their stats or whatever listed on a dating app, I would not be interested in them. But because I actually met them in person, like face to face as a person, like without that pressure of like, this is a date, I realized I'm like much more open to different people. But because of the format of dating apps and my preconceived notions, I'm like, oh, but I would only like a person who has this, this, and this. Like, even though I have been picky in some ways, it has also actually like really limited me from finding someone who I would actually like speaking to.
Chances are, pretty sure it was based on looks as far as like her talking to those people in the first place. Dating apps encourage this, but people inherently just do this too. People give positive attributes to pretty people and negative attributes to ugly. It's why it's refreshing to see ugly people get treated well in movies and TV shows. And yeah, appearance and like picking out a new car. I want this and this and this and this. I don't really care if it's a reliable car or anything. I just care that it's a really cool looking car. I don't care what's on the inside of it. I just care if it looks sick. I'm guilty of this too at times. Like, I really am. It's pretty fucked.
I think this speaks to how easily dating apps like allow you to dehumanize other people into just pixels on a screen. And even if you do meet them just for a first date, you don't even like really have to like fully process it, because you're just like, there is another one around the corner. And honestly, it like reminds me of like how many freaking times I've been on a date with someone from a dating app, and it's like they literally get a notification from the dating app, and it's just like, oh yeah, I'm not a real person. I am just a fictional guest star character in your world, and there is someone waiting to take my spot right after.
You know what's fucked up? Rick and Morty knows what's up. Hold on.
Jeff, I can explain everything.
You don't have to. Can you just marry us instead?
Jeff, don't do it!
Richard.
Maggie,
Running bird!
let's get out of here.
Priest Witherspoon!
Josiah?
Let's get the out of here.
Summer Smith,
Let's get the hell out of here.
you had me at my own name. Oh, yeah, no, why would I?
Okay, so now I want to get into how TikTok dating advice rotted my brain. Let's start first and foremost with Miss Sprinkle Sprinkle Lady Shira 7. Now, I'm going to be honest. That woman is a comedian.
You said men today want to get chased? Okay, call the police on the man. What if this man told you that you should take down his number? I told him no thank you, but why do they approach and suggest we contact them? I could take down your credit card number, sir. Let me get that.
She is hilarious. That girl will always make me laugh. And that's honestly the main reason why I even like entertained her videos, because I was just like, this is just like absurd, but it's also hilarious. Even if you are consuming the content in like an ironic or self-aware way, like it still finds a way to seep its way into your brain. And I feel like that genuinely did happen to me with the Sprinkle Sprinkle content. Even though I was like aware and I could be critical of it and I realized the shortcomings of all that, I think it still actually like found a way into my brain, because like if a man just asks me out on a coffee date, immediately I am thinking like lower of him, because Sprinkle Sprinkle said a coffee date is not a real date. I think it's like easy to view this content as just like really funny and absurd because, you know, men ain't shit, like that type of thing. But I think we do have to remember some men are victims, some men are oppressed, some men are broke because the system is not built for them. Just because they can't afford to pay for your nail appointment doesn't mean they are a bad person. And this isn't to say that like people should lower their standards or expectations. I just like think this type of content, it does send this really reductive message that men are only good for one thing, money, and women are only good for one thing, appearance. I think it like puts this pressure on women, especially young women, to like be like, oh, well, I have to take advantage of my youth and use my youth to lock down some rich man. Otherwise, like, I won't have that asset anymore. I think this content has hugely proliferated out of people just like wanting financial stability and sort of realizing that like one of the easiest ways to get that is by marrying someone who has it. I think this content has also become so popular now because I think this is like one of the points in history where there has been such a collapse of like socioeconomic groups. In the past, it was like the rich people, the nobility, the aristocracy living in castles, and then like literally everyone else was like serfs and peasants. There wasn't much intermingling. But because our society is like technically more equal than ever, people from vastly different socioeconomic statuses can interact. Like you can be a really, really poor kid at a school and you can also be the son of a billionaire like at the same college. So I just feel like this like intermingling of socioeconomic classes also sort of makes it this type of content even possible. Whereas a few centuries ago, maybe even decades ago, it's like if you didn't come from that rich background, like there was no way that you were finding someone from that rich background, or it would have been like very much so uncommon. And that definitely still exists today. There's definitely people from like very wealthy backgrounds who just will stay within that. But because of like dating apps, there is this possibility of like, okay, well, I can find someone who is much more well off than me. It's within reach. So, you know, if I don't do that, am I doing a disservice to myself? And I think this type of content, I guess, preys on that fear. And I think it just like sort of creates this like unnecessary fear of like, you only have two options: getting a really rich, wealthy guy, or getting a man who will essentially be your dependent. And of course, those are not like the only two options in the world. There's a lot of people in between that, and there's a lot of ways to find happiness without that.
So there's a bunch that I really want to go over here. Like, that's how fucking stupid we are. Men are only good for money, women are only good for looks. And girls will treat it that way. Not all, but enough of them. Like, motherfucker, the wage gap is expanding. Like, money go down, yours go up. Pay for some of my shit. Like, goddamn, give me your credit card number instead.
I think another piece of TikTok advice that kind of rotted my brain is if he wanted to, he would. Now, as someone who is an anxiously attached lover girl, like, yes, this has brought me a new perspective of maybe stop texting someone who doesn't want to see you.
You know, I feel this on a spiritual level. Like, yeah, if they aren't giving you the time of day and they haven't openly communicated and you asked if they are busy with life, then fuck them. Just on to the next. But make sure you get it out in the open first. I know it's easier said than done, but make sure you communicate with them first, because they could either just not be interested in you anymore and be very fickle, or they really could be busy with life. Something could have happened. some kind of emergency. It could be school, like beating them down. It could be work beating them down. It could be a mental state beating them down. It could be a number of things that is fucking them up and you just have no idea. But it's a two-way street. It's not just on you to communicate with them. You can only do what you can do, but they've got to do it too. But if they don't communicate with you, I mean, it's not going to be all your fault. Just keep that in mind. Just do your part for what it's worth. You can't control what the other person does, but you can control what you do for the most part. So just do that. Sit, boo-boo, sit. Good boy.
However, I do worry that like that type of if he wanted to, he would advice, it sort of like takes away your agency in the equation. And it also doesn't give the other person a chance to like actually do something because they don't know what you want. I think it implies that like you shouldn't tell someone what you want and that they should be able to just read your mind when of course that's not the case. And if he wanted to, he would definitely apply if you said, hey, I want you to do this reasonable thing, and he doesn't do it. So yeah, maybe that does say something. But I think like using it in that way of like, he should just do everything you want. He should read your mind. You shouldn't even have to tell him this. I feel like that creates sort of unrealistic standards and expectations for dating. And then I feel like the last frontier of TikTok dating advice that rotted my brain is the advice that's like, go out there, self-optimize, focus on yourself, get a hobby, and then you'll find the right guy. Well, yes, having hobbies and a social life is great and important. I feel like a lot of people use that as like a way of being like, you'll find love when you least expect it. I think one, this kind of shames people for trying to put effort into finding someone they like. And two, it implies that people who are in relationships like are somehow self-actualized and just better, and they like did all the work and that's why they're in a relationship. When, to be honest, a lot of the times people are just in a relationship because they found the right person at the right place at the right time. And that requires luck. Think about the people who are high school sweethearts. Like those people just happen to be born into the right zip code and they found each other. I think it just like...
Yeah, this is boilerplate advice in general with what she's saying, but just by chance. Yeah, correct. It's luck. So one thing that I'm really trying to get across in these videos now is shit, it's all luck and chance. Everything in life is luck and chance. It's probability. It really is. So I have a dumbass friend. Like, he's smart, but he's also really dumb, who thinks everything in life is hard work. And sure, hard work is important. It's very important. It can help align things with what you want. But think about it. Whatever you're trying to accomplish, whatever you want, whether it be dating, whether it be career, whether it be academic, whether it be some sports thing, whatever the case may be, whatever you're trying to do, right place, right time, baby, no matter what. Like, think about it. I just happen to be in this particular location on Earth at this particular time, this particular area, in this particular time period, with these particular skills, with this particular situation, with this particular know-how and knowledge. All of these are like millions and millions of probabilistic outcomes. I could have been anywhere else. Like I could have been dead as hell. I could have not even been born in the first place. I could have contracted some terminal disease. I could have been born with some terminal disease. I could have been in a completely different country. You could have been in a completely different country. You could have been in North Korea, probably dead as hell. You could be in America, well, dead as hell. Like you could be anywhere. Let's just hope I don't get shot, because I am in the South. So there is that. I know it removes the mystery and the storytelling of life, but it's really all probability. Like no matter what, it all comes down to it. She's saying it without actually saying it. Like, I don't know if she's aware of the probability aspect, but she's literally just like, hey, this all comes down to probability. If anyone tells you otherwise, they're stupid or God or on shrooms, maybe. I don't know.
Makes people who are not in relationships feel like they need to do like all this crazy stuff, all this self-discovery, all these solo trips to find themselves so that they can be in a relationship, when the truth is, like, you can be a terrible person and be in a relationship. Like, you actually don't have to work on yourself at all. This is not to say sit around and mope and be a horrible person, because of course you want to attract someone who is like has qualities that you like. But I do think that there is just like so much of like this self-optimization talk out there, and like so much of like when I least expected it. It found me. When I was thriving in my career, it found me. When truthfully, you really can't control that. It just like made me under the impression that I have to have my whole life together and everything figured out in order for someone to like me. When in fact, like, you really don't have to change anything about yourself for the right person. Like, if it's the right person for you, they're gonna like you. You're not gonna have to put on an act. You're not gonna have to put on some charades. Like, it'll just be fine and normal. You won't have to convince them of anything.
You know, I want to touch on this from earlier, but she's spitting facts for real. You can be a fecal matter motherfucker and enjoy some of the hottest guys and girls, whatever, no life lesson needed at all. You got a motherfucker that's literally president and has not really had to reap any of what he sowed. And it's all probability. Born fortunate, must be nice. And if anybody has an issue with what I just said, if I did even half the same shit this motherfucker did, y'all would have suplexed me into a jail cell. Y'all would have did me the same way that Bubble Bass did Squidward. Straight into a motherfucking jail cell. And yeah, I think with this, people focus on the wrong thing. You don't do it to get someone. You do it more so for yourself. And while you're distracted doing things to make life better for yourself, you're helping put yourself in a better headspace. You're helping put yourself in a better affirmation space. And it has a higher chance of attracting someone or someones, if you get down like that can vibe and enjoy it with you. It keeps you distracted, like how busy work at work keeps you distracted, and it helps time fly, or at least it makes you think time is flying. But really, you're just dealing with the agonizing toil of working for somebody else for hours on end, making them 4 times as rich as you probably will ever be.
Yeah, so this is how TikTok dating advice and dating apps in general have kind of rotted my brain. I haven't gotten to the point where I have like sworn off dating apps, but I have gotten to the point where I've actually realized that like I can find a way to spend an evening by myself or with friends, and like I don't feel this pressure to be constantly dating and constantly trying to find someone. And I really only want to do that like when I'm in the mood for it, because I think the biggest thing that dating apps impacted me is that like finding a partner, a boyfriend, a romantic connection is something that I should always be doing. It should be a constant in the background of my life, and it basically has been ever since I like initially got on dating apps. And I feel like I've just like kind of finally gotten to the point where that is not like the background default. The background default is like, what do I want to do with my life? How do I want to spend my time? How can I hang out with my friends? Like, it's not just about finding a guy. And honestly, it's been like really nice and freeing. I think I'm also a lot less concerned with like the numbers game aspect of dating. And it's like, I genuinely just want to go on less shitty dates. And the way for me to do that is to make sure I'm genuinely interested in a person before I go on a date with them. Not interested in their height or their job. Like, do I genuinely think I could have like a good conversation with this person? Okay, so that's how TikTok dating advice and dating apps rotted my brain. I would love to hear your experience. How did they rot yours? If they did, let me know. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.
And yeah, she pretty much sums it up pretty well. Overall, just be in it for you and enjoy the people smart enough to appreciate you. If you aren't shit, that is. But end of the video. It's a healthy way to be. It's good stuff. All right, that was Triple First Name. Be sure to sub to her. Shout outs. And be sure to sub to me if you like the jaded, optimistic, pessimistic, cynical, sunny position I have on things. Hit that like button, subscribe button. While you're at it, Miya Mutahara, and I am out of here.